Hey everyone, yes, we are live with Miriam Isaac. I am Brahmjeet, your host, and we have Miriam on stage. Do you guys have a smiley icon down below? You can definitely click on all the emoticons and you can talk to her, sending your questions on the question tab as well as in the chat section. We are here to answer all your live questions. And don't forget to tag us on Instagram with all your nice backstage pictures. Definitely, we will be looking forward to that as well. The Instagram handles and all the details are down below in the comment sections. Some introduction about Miriam is like she is the world's best paper mockup designer. I'll definitely mention that, as well as she is Oreo lover as well. So if you want to gift her something, definitely gift her Oreos. She would be so happy about that. And she's the only one on the planet who is a paper mockup expert. You guys want to see her paper mockups and paper UI designs, you can definitely check her out on Instagram, and you can see a lot of things there itself. She has an experience of about 10 years and she had been working with Fortune 200 companies. And yeah, we will be talking about that as well soon. So let's get started with the first question.
Okay, cool. How many people do we have here today?
So currently, I would have to count. There are few, but we are expecting a lot of more crowd. Let's see what happens. It takes time in India because internet are slow, pretty slow here.
Oh, really? Okay.
Right. Okay. So the first question which I would like to ask you is, what inspired you to become a UX UI designer?
I was a web designer at the time. I was building websites for small businesses. I was designing and coding them. And then, like, the mobile came along and we all had to adapt to designing for the mobile phone. We had to make, like, responsive websites. The
Okay.
technology became more advanced. We had to learn how to do interaction design. We also, at the time, there were new tools where you could talk directly to the customer, where you could put like surveys on your website and you could collect customer feedback. So all these amazing things. My It wasn't like a choice. It was like I had to adapt, and like that I learned how to. I saw that when you bring in user feedback, when you bring in data, when you bring in all these different points into your design and then test your designs, everything just came out so much better, and the users liked it more. It got passed by stakeholders better. It was, we were doing UX before it was UX, and it was, and then all of a sudden I became a UX designer.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So nice to hear that as well. So a very common question I would really like to ask you: what is the difference between UX and UI in terms of your own experience so far in this industry?
Okay, what's the difference between UI and UX?
Yes. So that's the difference between UI and UX.
No, that's just definitely see me. Okay, so this is how I think, and I think that UI is part of UX. UX is the entire experience you feel when you interact with a digital product.
Okay.
Okay, and part of that experience that you feel is the colors, is the type, is the shapes, is the interaction design. That's all part and parcel of the UX. External stimuli is all part of cognitive processing. So I believe that UI is really part of UX. It shouldn't be done separately. It should be done together with the UX. And we have to stop saying that it's separate, and we need to stop saying that it's something that we do at the end.
Mhm.
It's something that needs to be done whilst the project is being built and taken into consideration, because then we're just placing form before function, and that's no good either. So it
Mhm.
needs to be, I know that UX is still very new and we're still getting used to all of this, but it needs to be built in a way that it's together, in a way that it's simultaneous, and not as like a decoration on the cake. That it's actually part of the flavoring of the
Yeah,
cake.
yeah. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I hope it was pretty clear with the audience. Can we have a thumbs up on this if it is loud and clear to all? Great. Yeah, so I like to mention each and every person here as an attendee has given a lot of questions, a lot of different variety of questions we have consolidated them into one particular question. There were a lot of repeat of questions, so we are asking all those questions, and we do have our own personal questions from people itself, and everybody will get a little chance to talk to you via raising hands. So I have another question, which says that while consuming a lot of content over different platforms for UX and UI specifically, I feel overwhelmed. This sometimes leads to discussion paralysis.
I'm sorry, I don't. The question, I don't understand the question.
So the question is, when grasp a lot of knowledge from different platforms like Instagram, YouTube, or maybe some online courses or something like that. So everybody has a different perspective to different ideas, and the person feels very overwhelmed with a lot of information, and then he
Yeah.
is unable to take decisions, and he feel a bit of paralysis, where decision paralysis happens with him. So
Okay.
what are
Okay.
the suggestions you give us?
Yeah. Well, I think that's not good yet. UX, is it?
Yeah. Okay.
When there's so much information, I think nowadays we have to be really conscious of the information that we're consuming,
Yeah.
because there's so much. Thank God, like there's so much information out there, and it's absolutely amazing that all this is free, and we can learn from all these amazing people online, which was usually gatekeep in like universities or in
Yeah.
colleges or in schools, and this is all out in the open. So it's absolutely amazing, and let's not take that for granted. I know I know that I couldn't have become like a self-taught designer and
Mhm.
had my career progression if it wasn't for people that share their information so easily online. So I'm very
Yeah.
into like giving back to the community in that way. I think as your own person, you need to start discerning like who you listen to and who you don't listen to. I'll be honest, I go on Instagram. I used to be very inspired by Instagram and like, but I find now I'm coming on, I'm very confused, and
Okay.
I need to start myself just filtering like what I see, what information I take in, who am I listening to, and I think we've come to that point now. You can't necessarily discern by the amount of followers because we don't know if they have bots or we don't know if they have fake followers or real followers. What
Yeah.
you need to do is really discern by the engagement. Are people engaged? Are people, liking, commenting, sharing this person's stuff? Is it resonating with people? Because I think the carousels, if you do a carousel a day, you're gonna get followers. That's how it works, right? And we've cracked that.
Yeah.
And now there's, people see it's not that it's not that hard to gain so many followers. So it's an easy path. So what you have to do as a person is
Hmm.
now discern which profiles you're going to follow, which
Yeah.
profiles you think are the most valuable, and support them so you can gain the content that you want to see and just be smart in
Hmm.
like what you're consuming.
Okay, so we definitely need to find quality content, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So we have another question which says, how do we get over the creative block and the inactive period where we are not working as UX or UI designers for a month, like maybe in this lockdown, or uh, you know anything you which you feel like, how do get over your creative block?
Yeah, it's really tough creative block. I also suffer from it as well.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So
Like
you have a
I'm
better
gonna
experience in that case. Yeah.
like sometimes it's about say if you have creative work and you have work, like you have deadlines,
Yeah.
you just gotta do it. Like you just gotta man up and like do it.
Okay.
I find
Okay.
once you jump in, once you like jump into it, you're fine. But like just like take a deep breath, like give make yourself your favorite tea, make yourself you say yourself, if I do this thing, I'm gonna eat this Oreo, okay? And like
Okay. Again, the Warrior Queen is back.
definitely, I think treat like definitely savoring treating there's a rule in psychology where like if you say like, okay, if I do this task, I'm gonna get this like treat, like definitely use those tactics. If you don't have a deadline, and I would say deadlines are the best way to motivate yourself. If you don't have a deadline, then what you want to do is take a break. Go outside, go for a walk, go to the forest, go to like, um, and let the ideas come to you. I always find that when I'm blocked creatively, changing my environment is really healthy. Going for that, going for the walk, go to a coffee shop to get a drink, just doing something that is a change of environment. That's really going to help you.
Okay, so that's the best thing which we can do. So now we are open to questions. Put your questions in the question tab. You guys can raise hand after that. When you have dropped your questions. So we will be starting with Bharat. We have Bharat Kunana here. You're on the stage, man. Now.
Hi Miriam, can you see me?
Hi, how are
Yeah.
you?
How are you? I'm good.
I'm
I'm good. I'm pretty excited to have you here with us.
It's very
So
exciting.
yeah. So my question for you is like I read your blog on Medium, and the you have written about the future of web design and how agencies will create pattern libraries and frameworks. And the blog was in 2015, so now we are halfway through 2020. And so what are the changes you can see in the industry, and how the future turned out for you from 2015 to 2020? That's my question.
Yeah, yeah, I know that blog post. It's very old.
Yeah, I was going through your website, and I found it pretty interesting. So
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, there's so many. Like at the time, I was talking about pattern libraries and style guides. I would say design systems. That's where we're at right now.
mhm.
I would say, there's a lot of stuff does still apply. Like things like user flow, starting on paper. I do think designers should understand CSS.
Okay.
So with that understanding, um, I do think. I mean, is there any like specific question? Because I don't necessarily remember the whole article. So
No,
Okay.
about the libraries thing, and how web designers and UI designers and UX designers have emerged from 2015 to 2020. How was the transformation?
yeah, well, there's definitely been a big transformation. I think the technology has definitely evolved. I see myself designing even more screens than I used to design. There's a lot more complications. There's a lot more different types of applications that are coming out that like I couldn't have imagined in 2015, and I find myself designing for the more complex scenarios and more complex software, and that's always a challenge, and that's something you couldn't predict in the 2015. I see it's just getting more like complicated, it's just getting more advanced, and I think that's amazing, and I think there's going to be so many more opportunities both in like workspace tools, in mobile applications, in VR, in AR, in voice. Like there's so many different areas where we're going to need a designer. It's amazing because this is a job we could have never imagined when we were children to have.
Yeah.
It wasn't like when you're younger you could be like a doctor or a lawyer. This career's still going, but this
Yeah.
career is brand new. I saw someone on Twitter say something like, "Our children are going to have jobs that
Hmm.
haven't even exist nowadays." And I'm like, "Well, I have a job that didn't exist when I was a child."
Hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's good.
It was web developers back then, and now we have dedicated UI UX designers. So I guess you answered my question, and that's my time. I guess.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So everyone, we have a special guest, Miriam here. We have Jitu Roth, who is a product designer at Flipkart in India, and I would really request him to come up on the stage and give us his side of story being a UX UI designer.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm visible or not?
Yeah, Jitu, perfectly
Yeah.
visible.
Hi, Mariam. Hi, Ramji.
Hi.
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 I have one question. I was just connecting with designers, and we were keep discussing on this fact. Okay, right now there is a lockdown in entire world, so the way of working is getting changed it is going towards remote working and all that. So what do you think about our product design or UX design? Okay, what will be the collaboration ways, or how it will change structure in our design things
You
also
mean,
design?
just
Yeah.
to clarify, you mean as a remote designer, like how will that work?
Yeah. So the fact was, before that, people were not more towards remote designing. They thought we want full-time designer. But right now, the condition is remote designing is the best way to
In
collaborate.
terms of India, in terms of India,
In
right?
terms of DDF, people don't have that view. Okay, they say, "Nahi, we want in-house designer." That's all.
You want in-house. So India want in-house, but now they want remote.
Right now, there is no option. They have to work remotely only.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
just wanted to ask you, okay, but still we are facing some problems related to remote work and collaboration things. So what is your view on that for the future of design in that?
Well, I think massive companies are going remote, like Google, like Shopify, like all these big companies have gone remote now. And I think the advantage of going remote, I think that everyone has seen that it does really cut a lot of costs. You know, you don't have to manage the offices, you don't have to
Yeah.
manage all these, people in one place, the electricity, like all of that overhead goes away. The margins are much higher in terms of profitability for these big companies, which is why I would say the future of work is remote.
Hmm.
I would say that it's for UX designers. Thank thank God that we have a career that's on the computer and we can do our job remotely. You're going to be looking at tools like Figma and Adobe XD will lead the way in terms of collaboration.
Hmm.
I think Figma is an amazing tool in terms of
Yeah.
collaboration. I know the other day I was on video with my colleague, and he was on video. We were in Figma together, and we could see each other. We were working together like that.
Hmm.
I see that's really the future of working together. I mean, it is. I think traditionally it's really hard not seeing people in their seats. And not being able to
Yeah.
be like, "Hey, come to this meeting room," and "Hey, can you hear me?"
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Or
yes,
someone
yes,
got me.
yes, yes, we are able to hear you.
I guess she's on pause now.
I
Thank
think,
you, Jitu. Thank you so much
yeah,
for your
yeah,
time.
yeah,
We'll definitely connect back, right?
yeah, definitely.
Thank.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that I really think that we have a great career
Hmm.
moving forward. UX designers, we're working remotely. I think it's going to take, say, management to get used to not being able to like pull people back into meetings, not being able to see people working. Like that's a trust issue that I think big companies are also working through. It's not just us, but I think I'm very grateful that I have a career that can be done 100% online. And it's just about getting used to like asynchronous communication, like communication that's not real time, communications that, documentation's got to get a lot better. Like you've got to document your work, you've got to explain your design decisions, you've got to like be comfortable pinging someone and maybe they won't ping straight back and like being comfortable with that. So like the whole team needs to get used to this reality.
Okay. So I'll call upon Akib on the stage for the next question. Yeah, Akib, you're on stage.
Hi.
Yeah, so I have a question related to a little towards development and design. So I am a software engineering graduate, and now that I have switched to design, I think my programming knowledge helps me, to design things better because I know what can easily be developed and what takes a little more effort from the development side. But so, how important do you think it is to have a programming knowledge for a UI UX designer?
I think it's really important because I think as any designer, any UX designer, you'll be tasked with creating a design system. Now, what's a design system? It's not just a collection of components, it's also an instruction to the developer as well. And you need to understand as a designer how to communicate because, like, a lot of developers don't understand layout. Okay, you'll get some that they're more logic driven, with the back end programming, and they're not. Some people you do. Some people, some front end developers do understand the layout and have that background and have that eye for it, but most do not. And it's more likely that you're going to be the only designer or one of like two or three designers on a team of 10 developers, and all those developers aren't necessarily going to be front end layout people, and
Right.
you're going to have to communicate, how, like if you're say creating like a modal, right? Let's say you need to communicate at what breakpoints does this go to, like how does this respond, like what does it look like in different scenarios, and you need to have a basic understanding of CSS. And nowadays we do have tools like Webflow and EditorX, where you can create no code tools, right? And you
Yeah.
can go
Right.
in and you
Yeah.
can recreate your designs in no code and maybe give that to developers and they can grab that code, which is a little bit more sophisticated than the Figma code, because the breakpoint is still, I would say that's still, an area of communication that designers sort of struggle with and don't understand that much. Things like grids and CSS grids,
Right.
it's why there's a lot of struggle with designers and developers. And I think just a designer taking some time to do an HTML CSS course online on like Treehouse or like something like that, it's not that difficult, and it's really gonna do you a world of good.
Okay.
Right.
That's great.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't
Thank you
have
so
so
much.
many questions.
No problem.
All right. So the next on the stage we have Sukriti here. Hi Sukriti, you're on stage.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. We can't see you though. Yeah,
Yeah,
we can
hi.
see you now as well.
Hi.
Hi,
I like to
Miriam.
mention that she is a dentist by profession.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
Yeah. How do you use your Israeli greetings? You say shalom, right?
Say shalom, but I'm also British, so you can say hello.
I
Awesome.
don't know. It's nice to have you. So yeah, like that doing this transition from dentistry into design. So
That's
my
so
question,
interesting, by the way. Really interesting journey.
I'm sorry.
That's a really interesting journey, being
Ah,
transferred.
yeah, absolutely. It's an adventure for me. I'm actually enjoying the journey. But right now, the challenge is being a beginner, how do I position myself into the industry as a designer? Like, I do want to focus on healthcare, but I'm equally interested in other domains as well. So, I'm not really clear as to where do I position myself as I enter the industry.
Right. I think for you as a former dentist, I think the healthcare is going to be really going to work in your favor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that you should like mention and work on, and maybe like create case studies around like healthcare apps and the problems that you've
Yeah,
seen as a dentist in terms of technology and that kind of stuff. That's
yeah,
really gonna help position you. I
yeah.
would say you really want to focus on showing your work, like getting up your case studies, like getting up work on social media,
Mm-hmm.
networking with other people. It's all about getting yourself out there and showing your work, and
Um, I think
it,
the challenge is that I take very keen interest in research, user research and research insights and all that stuff, the UX part of it. I'm not very good at UI yet. So when it comes to social media, I guess it's not much of UX that is being shared. And I don't really see much insights as to how to explore that part where I can share more of UX on social media and collaborate on that basis. I mean,
it
I know
definitely.
people tend to post more of interaction design and stuff on social media when it comes to that, even on Dribbble and all that. How do, what do you
It's
suggest?
about, yeah, this is also like a main question I get is surrounding user research, like how do we get started, like how do I do user research and all of that kind of stuff. User
Yeah,
research comes like hand in hand with like design solutions. The point of doing user research is when, say, someone comes to a designer and they say to them, like, hey, make this app for me. You go, wait, hold on 1 minute. I want to go speak to some users
yeah,
and let me do the research first. And you're
yeah,
not just responding like what you think, you're responding in a way where what does the user think, right? You've got that mental mode.
yeah,
User research really comes hand in hand with the design solution. So what you want to be doing is telling a story. Okay, if your UI
hmm,
isn't great right now, you could do this
yeah.
with wireframes, right? What you want to be
All
doing is
right.
making problem framing a problem. Okay, it could be like dentists have a hard time booking. Clients have a hard time booking sessions with dentists. Okay, and you
Yeah.
go and you talk to a few clients and you go and find out what's the problem, what do you need.
Yeah.
Is it a time issue? Is it like whatever it is?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
create a problem frame, right? So you
Yeah.
have
I
a
did do that research. Yeah.
great. You have an hypothesis, right? And
Yeah. I
then
do have
you
that.
go, great. But you want to visualize this user research, like you want to show it on your in images,
I get it.
like you did that. Okay, great. So you want
Yeah.
to show how you came to your solution via
Yeah.
asking users, and
Yeah.
showing how that improved the experience, what results that drove, and that's really it's all about telling the right story
How do
via
I make it more engaging to be shared on social media? Like
so right. So
interactions are pretty much entertaining when they're shared, but I don't know if this part of research, in a way, is much entertaining for people as viewers. I'm not sure.
I think it's really entertaining. I think people love it. I listen to a lot of Luke W, who does like Google conversations, and he's
Mhm.
very into user research, and he always tells the story of like, the user research he does, and then how it looks now and what they achieve. It's all about like I think it's super interesting. I think it's just how you present it.
Yeah,
Look
yeah,
to like I know on my feed I have some stories like showing like okay like you doing research and putting that into like my designs and how does that look like. You want
all
to
right.
follow this kind of 1, 2, 3 formula. It's really stories come in 3 steps, right? You've got the beginning, the middle, and the end. So you want to really frame it like that,
Oh,
and like that's how like you start off in storytelling.
mhm.
Um, it is interesting. You just have to like, you know, it's
Yeah,
about framing the question like how did I achieve, X conversion with
uh,
changing one button, stuff like that. How did I, you see
yeah,
these like lines like we increase conversion by changing the color of a button, by 20%. That's engaging. People want to know how do you do
yeah,
that? Like,
definitely.
you
Yeah,
know,
but then as a beginner, I don't have that uh, that side of the data where I can show any conversions and all, because most of the case studies I would be doing are hypothesis. And but yeah, I'll definitely explore that part, the way you said, that storytelling and presentation of the research insights and stuff.
Awesome.
even even if
Yeah.
you like test your prototype with real users, like a before and after. Like, okay, first you show them your first design, you ask for feedback, you take that feedback, you put it in your design, you re-show
Hmm.
them that design, ask them what they think, take that quote and put that
Yeah. Yeah.
in the
Yeah. Yeah.
story,
Yeah. That's a good
and
suggestion.
that's your qualitative feedback,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm gonna do that. Thank you so much.
no problem.
I
I hope it helps,
appreciate that.
and feel free to reach out, okay?
Oh, sorry. Come again.
Feel free to DM me if you've got more
Oh,
questions.
thank you so much. I appreciate that. It was nice talking to you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Akriti.
Yeah.
So we have Sarat on stage now. He is a UX ware designer from Bangalore, India.
Hey, hey,
Hey,
hi. How are you, Miriam?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. Yeah. So,
Hey.
my question is, okay, now we have talked so much about how to get into UX and what are the problems, and also after you are in the UX, so when you go out for looking out for a job and all, how do you where do you suggest people to start their careers? Is it a do you want them to go about starting from a product based company or a service based company? And if you it'll also be helpful if you can tell us what's the difference of work in both the kind of companies for a UI UX designer.
It's really about what you gravitate to as a person. Like, do you prefer doing service design? Do you prefer doing product design? Like, which one do you prefer? It's really up to you because you want to be hired for your strength and what you're good at. So I would say like it's really about finding who you are and then like going towards that and like finding career satisfaction in that. You know, I would say product design is when the actual like the UX is the product itself. So you're looking at things like, like Uber, their product is, their app, right? Where that's part and parcel of like the user experience. It's part and parcel of their project. It's like Airbnb, like um these kind of projects. And then service design is more like where I mean, there's two ways of like of translating service design. Service design is like the whole um, customer journey, understanding that whole customer journey, like how the user finds out about the company in the first place, how they interact with the company at different touch points, which is a more of like a privileged position, which happens more like in Europe or like America, where like I don't know, like an airline could have like the customer service desk or the customer care lines, or like they could have advertisements or like a website or like an app. Right, where project design is a little bit more focused just
Yeah,
on like the app itself, on the
yeah.
web application itself, like software as a service. It's a great example of UX as a product because that's what you're setting. You're setting a solution to
Hmm.
a problem that like businesses have,
Okay.
you know. So and that's what's being sold. Like so the UX is the product.
And
Yeah.
how
So
about consulting firms? I'll just like to add up on this. How about going into a consulting firm or a UX studio, maybe, and specifically in a studio or maybe a product company? I know the pros and cons, although, but yeah, uh, would you be preferring a consulting firm where you itself do a lot of consulting? I know that already. If you are at your beginners level, would you be interested in going into a consulting firm or a studio firm or a product firm? How would you tell us that?
me, wait, it was
Yeah,
for me.
it's a, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So I would say to start off as a studio in the studio is really great because you get that range of projects. You get that range of projects. Some projects could be service design, some could be products, some could be like e-commerce, some could be like marketing product pages. Like you'll get that range of projects and you can see where you gravitate to, and
Okay.
that's how you can really build your career from that, as opposed to say going into one company where you could be on one project for like 3 years, which is fine, and it's a good career progression as well. But like I think starting off as in a studio is always good for young designers to
Yeah.
really get their foot in the door as well. Because a lot of these senior design the studios also they need like young designers because they're trying to like build up and stuff. Consulting's a little different because consulting's kind of like one and done. Like someone comes to you, they're like, we have a problem with our sign up form or we have a problem with our product page. We just want you to audit this page and give us recommendations, right?
Yeah.
So and then you make your assessment, you do user research, you make a deck of order of recommendations, you send that, and then you send it along. You don't like that's it, that's the project. You get paid, you know. Where like there's so many different ways of like doing user experience. It's amazing. Like when you're working in a studio, the way you interact with companies is like they have a project, you can work like 6 months on a project, and then it's like goodbye. Okay, or you can
Okay.
work in house and it's constantly like you're working on a project and you're constantly iterating on it, reiterating, and learning from the users and get involved in that way. But like you're only working on one project, whereas in the studio, every 6 months you'll be working on a different completely industry. So it really just depends on where you gravitate to.
So you're saying that it's obvious to think that there is more learning or growth as a designer, as a UI UX designer in a product-based company than a service, or like, what do you say about that?
I think it's great to be good to go into like a product
Hmm.
based service because I feel like there's real there you get experience with real data, with user research, with
Yeah.
you'll be able to really learn the project, you'll be able to
Yeah.
really learn the project and
Yes.
be integrated as a product team. It's
Hmm.
generally for more senior designers,
Hmm.
um, but like it's because um you might not get the benefit of working as a design manager. You might be directly on a product team, so you're working like as a lone designer sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But the way you get to know the product is amazing. Like you'll be able to like come up with your own solutions and really have that mindset, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. That's all from me.
Thank you, Sarat. Thank you for
Yeah.
your time.
Yeah.
We have Samruddhi
Thank you,
here.
Miriam. Bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so we have Samriddhi here. She's a fresher and I guess she is doing some internship. I'll hand over the mic to her.
Hi,
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so my question is I'm just starting out and I've learned quite a lot over the last few months about UX. So I'm sort of in the designing, starting to, design things, that phase of it. And I kind of keep on getting stuck at reiterating or working on a design. So how do you know that a design is now complete? I need to stop redesigning it and going over and over it and stop making changes as such. Like this is it. This is
Well,
perfect.
usually when you're working with for a client or for a company, there'll usually be milestones where they'll like you'll get a certain amount of time to work on a design, and then like you'll present to the team or to your manager, and you'll get iterations from them, and then like either it will go to production, like it will go to developers, or you'll make changes. Um, if you're doing it by yourself, the best way is to get it in front of a user as soon as possible
Mm-hmm.
and learn from the user how to improve on it. That's the best way to do that. And you'll learn, and the more you see that, the more you'll learn like when to stop, when to start, and when to but like the best way to learn is to like A/B testing, usability testings, A/B testings, like that's the best way.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that'll be it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Samriddhi.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
You
Bye.
too, bye.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have Abhilasha here for the next question.
Hi, hi. Thank you
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
thank you for taking out the time to talk and answer all these questions.
Oh,
And
sure, no problem.
yeah, so my question to you is like we had already touched the topic of user research. So right now, when I work on projects, so I understand that user research is a very important part to understand, even to define the problem and go deeper in the problem. So when you talk to users, how do you navigate the conversation when it goes off track? And after you talk to a lot of users, how do you accumulate all that data into one so that it can help you take better decisions? Because there's a lot of input coming from because everyone has different perceptions, right? Everyone has different experiences. So how do you accumulate all those different experiences and pain points and accumulate into one and take decisions on based on that?
Yeah, I'm just gonna hold on, let me just I'm gonna
I guess there is some disturbance at your end.
this is my end. I want to share with you
Yeah.
a user interview thing. Hold on. Oh wait, user interview something. Okay, hold on. I'm just grabbing this. Share.
Do you want to share your screen? Is it like that?
No, I'm gonna get the link to put it in. I'm just getting it now. Okay, got it.
Okay.
I got it. Okay, these are questions. This is my user interview template. And these are questions that you guys can use to interview your users. Just copy from this because this is like a lot of people everywhere use this. So just copy it. Don't use it directly.
Awesome, awesome. That is
um,
a gold mine we got from Miriam Isaac. Wonderful to have this.
Thank you for answering the question. I'll probably
and there's a second part to the question. So that's
yeah.
just use the interview. And what you want to do is, oh, I'm getting some feedback. Oh, my ears.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just getting some feedback. Oh, okay, fine. What you want to do is then create an infinity map. From this, right? What you want to do is interview like about 5 users, let's say. Okay, what you want to do is start noting down key points and put them on and take post-it. You could do real post-it notes, or you could do post-it notes in like a program like Figma or XD. I know that XD have a free template. I, I just can't get to it right now, but I'll try and maybe I'll share this somehow with you guys. But there's a template you can use for an affinity map in XD. What you want to do is listen out for those keywords, right? Like key user problem. Put them in the notes, right? And you want to do this for about 5 people. And what you're going to see when you take a step back after you do these user interviews, you want to see what your patterns that occur, and you will see. And you want to start putting little dots, like little dots on these things, and then you'll start seeing like, oh, let's this is a real problem we have here that you've let from the questions, like these questions that I've given you are gonna find those problems, they're gonna uncover those problems, right? And then what you want to do is start like looking for patterns and then making your hypothesis from that. But also at the same time, you also want to be doing, if possible, I know it's very hard the first time to do this, but if there's other data, like Google competitive analysis, Google Analytics, which is free, which you could just put on any site, Hotjar, heat mapping, surveys, whatever you could do. I do hope it's funny. I do hope one day to make this kind of like UX research kit for everyone. I need to find the time for it, but like I want to do this because it's a question I get a lot. So and then you'll start seeing patterns, and then you'll start be able to take that and putting that into your design.
Awesome.
I just have a quick question to that as well. What I used to do is do qualitative and quantitative research parallelly, right? But when another designer gave me a perspective that you shouldn't not do it parallelly, you should do a quantitative first, and then drive more problems. Then you should do qualitative. So, what is your take on that?
Wait, I missed the part of the question. I'm sorry.
Should I repeat it again? Am I audible?
Yep.
You said something about quantitative, qualitative, and then I missed the last bit.
Yeah, so I was saying that I used to do user research on qualitative and quantitative parallelly, but one another designer gave me a perspective that you should not do qualitative and quantitative parallelly. You should do qualitative first and or quantitative first, and then drive those decisions, and then do a qualitative or quantitative later. So you should not do parallelly both research. What is your take on that?
It really, like everyone's got their own opinion, like.
So what I think is everybody has a different perspective in following rules, as we know about design process. So I'll add up a question here, including Abhilasha in this as well. What is your design process? Reason being, it's one of the same things she's asking, right?
Right. I would say, what you want to like. There's so many different ways of doing it, and I also understand that sometimes you're going to get projects where you're not going to be able to do user research. That just happens. It does happen, and it's real, and it's okay, and it's fine. Maybe it's not fine, but whatever. But
Yeah, I understand that.
what I
I can
do,
fly.
what I do is like, say I've got a client that comes to me, and I can do it like say my way, right?
Mhm.
What I do is I'll do a discovery with them.
Mhm.
It says I'll ask certain questions. I have a discovery workshop that I do with them. And then from there, I'll also ask them certain goals about the user as well and stuff like that. And from there, I'll start doing like my user interviews based upon my
Okay.
questionnaire. I'll do about 5 of them. But I'll also be asking about for other data. I'll be asking like, do you have any can I speak to like customer service reps? Do you have any Google Analytics? Do you have any like heat maps? And
The
if
peripherals, you mean?
pardon,
The peripherals, you mean, right?
yeah, the what? Sorry.
Peripherals, all the side peripherals of the company.
Yeah, like if they already have data, I'll ask for that. If not, I'll try and do my own empirical data, which is doing user interviews myself.
Hmm.
Uh, and then and then from there start like come back to them and say like, okay, I found these problems. I think we should integrate them, and they can say yes or no, and then we'll move forward with the design. You know,
Awesome.
or like some people will be like, you know what, like I'm just going to tell you what I think. I want you to get started, and then it's your decision if you want to do that project or not. You know, and but sometimes it is more valuable to get out a prototype to the user and see how they respond to that. Sometimes that's more value. That's really valuable. You know, if you can get a prototype out, um,
Yes.
you know, and test that. Like that's one of the best ways of doing user research because you have something concrete in front of you. Some people might like you might have a startup. Sometimes I get startup founders come to me. They have an idea, you know, and they don't know. They want me to do user research for them. So I'll go and do the user research for them. Or some people will be like, no, no, I've already done the user research. Here's what we found. We don't want you to do user research. We just want you to make a prototype. And that's okay. You know what? Like, I know that, you know, a lot of people won't admit this or like, you know, they'll put user research on a pedestal, which is fine. I get that. And when you can, you should speak to users. It's very important, but also people do very differently from what they say, and that's why it's also important to both talk to users but also watch what they do, which is so important because we'll always have that aspirational self, like we'll say, oh, you know, I want this or do or we'll do differently. So we're having the prototype or having or basing your user research on competitors, you know, is also a great way of doing it. You know, it's just about what we're really trying to mitigate is designers doing something because they think, you know, what we want to do is make sure designers have just have are user centric, and I think we've achieved that. I think we've achieved that, and I think designers are conscious of that nowadays, and that's really what it's all about.
Mhm. I hope
Thank
that
you.
answered your question,
Yeah.
Abhilasha.